Hi, this is Andre, and thanks for checking out Synthisophy. Synthisophy is scientifically integrating the wisdoms of history, based on fact and truth, into our present culture. Let's take a look today at the introduction. Let's do the hot and cold water molecule experiment to get an understanding of how your brain works. Note that your brain is an extraordinarily complex organ with billions of nerve cells, neurons, all interconnected and firing away to generate your consciousness and sense of self. Note also that at conception you are just one cell, one single human cell in the womb. And from there, that one cell divides continually with the guidance of your DNA to become you, all 37 trillion cells of you. Now, keep that in mind as we go to the hot and cold water experiment. First thing you need to do, get 3 containers. First one here will contain the cold water. Pour some tap water in, put a whole bunch of ice in the container. The ice will bring the temperature down to 32 degrees. Let me check. Yep, 32 degrees. Freezing point of water. As long as there's ice in there, it will be 32 degrees. Second container, pour regular tap water, cold tap water, into the container. Then bring the temperature of that water to 70 degrees. Our tap water here was about 75 degrees. We threw a couple of ice cubes in there, brought it down to 70 degrees. Here's the hot water. This hot water is 108 degrees. All we did was pour hot water out of the tap. That water came out at about 118 degrees. We poured some out, added some regular tap water, cold tap water, and brought the temperature to 108 degrees. Note that you don't want to go higher than 108 degrees because your skin is sensitive. You don't want to hurt yourself. So, here's the experiment. Take your left hand, put it inside the cold water. Leave it there for 10 seconds. Note, it's not very comfortable. There may be a little bit of discomfort and pain in there. After 10 seconds, take it out, put it inside the warm water. Note how it feels. Then, take your right hand, put it inside the hot water. Leave it there for 10 seconds. That's not very comforting either. 10 seconds, then put your hand in the warm water. How does it feel? All right, now, take your left hand, put it in the warm water. Note how it feels. Take your right hand, put it in the warm water. Note how it feels. It feels significantly colder. This water is significantly colder than with my left hand. But wait a minute, it's the same water. How could it feel colder with one hand and warmer with the other? Something's not right here. How can that happen? Well, the answer lies in your brain and how your neurons interpret input. If your brain is accustomed to cold ice water, then the difference in warm compared to cold neurologically registers as a lot warmer, a larger difference. If your brain is accustomed to hot water, then the difference in warm compared to hot registers as a lot cooler, a larger difference. And when you compare that feeling of temperature in your left hand to your right hand, you can see that the brain has overcompensated. It's overcompensated the differences in temperature, and your hands feel different temperatures at the same time. Note, it's all relative. That's how your brain and neurons operate. Another example. Have you ever seen the moon on the horizon when it first comes up in the evening? Doesn't it look huge? I've done it many times. I still can't figure it out. It looks huge. Wait 3 hours, go look at it high in the sky. It looks like the dinky little moon that you're accustomed to. How can it possibly be that the same moon looks huge in one context and small in another? It's all relative. It's how your brain interprets your surroundings. The thought is that with the horizon acts as a data point from which your brain compares the size of the moon. For whatever reason, makes it look bigger. Once it gets up high in the sky, with no data points around it, it shrinks in your head. As Einstein said, it's all relative. That's how your brain and your neurons operate. So, with the results of the hot and cold water test in mind, let's consider someone with centrist views speaking to someone who is far right. Consider myself, I'll be the centrist. Let's find somebody who's far right, say 9 or 10 on the scale. Is there anybody out in the audience who would like to participate in here that would consider themselves alt-right? Yes, young lady over there, would you like to participate? Yes, pleased to meet you. My name is Andre.
Hannah.
Hannah, pleased to meet you. You know, I wonder if there's anything we can do about climate change.
Why do we keep bringing this up? Climate change is just a total hoax. Climate constantly changes over time. We've had extreme highs and lows over the last hundreds, if not thousands of years. Sea level rises and falls. It's just happens.
Well, yeah, you are correct. Sea levels do rise and fall. Temperatures do go up and down. But that usually takes tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. How can it be happening now so quickly?
The sky is falling. Let's run for our lives. You guys say it's just too much.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Now, let's go in the opposite direction. I'll play the centrist. Is there anybody in the audience who would consider themselves far left, perhaps ultra left? Yes, gentleman over here. Come on down.
Oh. Hi. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you? Andre, your name is?
Roland.
Roland.
Nice to meet you, Andre.
Pleased to meet you. Let me ask the question. I wonder, is there anything we can do about climate change?
Well, I think we could do something about it. I mean, we got the scientific community says we have 10 years to do something drastically to get off carbon emission completely, or we're doomed. We're going to fry ourselves. And, no disrespect to Hannah, but people like that don't believe in global warming. I mean, you got to be crazy with all the scientific information that we have.
So how long do you think we have to...
Scientists are saying 8 to 10 years that we have to completely be off, we have to go to renewable energies with the Green Deal.
You mean completely?
Completely, yeah, or we're doomed.
Do you think it's reasonable in an 8 to 10 year span to do that?
Well, we have really no choice. I mean, what are you going to do if we don't? We're all dead. So I think we can do it. If we all put our minds to it, it's got to be a global achievement, so we're in right now we're in a critical state.
Well, we'll have to keep it in mind. Thank you very much for sharing that information.
All right, Andre.
All right, very good. Now, from those presentations, do you see how the alt-right sees the centrist as far left, and how the ultra-left gentleman that came down saw the centrist as far right? That happens for the same reason that the same warm water can feel hotter or colder. Your brain neurologically generates those perceptions relative to each other, and your brain overcompensates, generalizes, and becomes biased in that aspect. Let's call this biasing hot or biasing cold, like we do with the water. Better yet, how about if we call it biasing left or biasing right? The alt-right bias the centrist left. They perceive the centrist as far left. The ultra-left bias the centrist right. They perceive the centrist as far right. Perhaps these biases are reflected in the upside-down bell curve discussed earlier. So think about the hot and cold water experiment next time you get into a heated political argument with someone. Maybe you'll catch yourself biasing left or biasing right. Maybe you'll see the person with whom you're arguing biasing left or biasing right. With these issues in mind, let's start on a walk through history to get a better understanding of ourselves.